Kengema Kalabari. Inge my tray in Daiwana Latrame Wayanimba. This is the question, one of the greatest magicians of all time. When Kalabari Ikulele asked, Inge my tray in Daiwana Latrame Wayanimba. Kalabari history is straightforward, except those who want to distort, embellish this history. Very straightforward. I am forced today to speak because of the events of Tuesday morning. In the wee hours of Tuesday, my cousin, Caribou, Abi, Makri, with the aid of those who had the keys to the sanctuary of King Amakri, got in, locked himself inside the sanctuary and slaughtered some animals, a goat and a chicken, pretending to have made himself the Amanyanabo of Kalabari and Makri the 12th. I'll proceed with conditions and requirements for the making of a king in Kalabari and clear some distortions and outright lies, Iro Opiro. In Kalabari land, we were told before this time that at Ramapri, now in Kalabari, there were two ruling houses from the record that we have read, both from oral traditions and from the European writings. The Korame and the Endeme ruled. Makri was of the Endeme quarters. There was a great fire that engulfed Kalabari and devastated the settlement. And the requirement for rebuilding and rehabilitating the place was put forward to that Selie Fubra of the Korame. He, with the prompting of his mother, refused. His mother said, Kalabari people are very ungrateful. If you go and do this after you are finished, they will turn their back on you. That's very true of Kalabari people. I had experienced it myself several times. So they went to K, where Makri had gone to as a young man because he was afflicted with smallpox, which was COB, a forbidden sickness. And those who suffer from such sickness were thrown into the evil forest to die, like lepers and so on. So it is only at K such people are attended to and administered with medicine and get cure. So he was there. They called him. He stayed in K. He has amassed sizable wealth to be able to meet the condition for rehabilitating Torres Ramapri, now in Kalabari. And he was brought and he fulfilled all the requirements and the rights and became a Makri, Amanyanabo of Kalabari, and established the Makri dynasty. He reigned for close to 100 years or more from the records. In his old age, his son, Da Amakro, took over. and reigned in his stead and continued until the demise of Da Amakro. When Da Amakri was alive, King Amakri was alive, he shared his 2 children, Ekine, the elder, to the Awuba boys' house, and Caribou, the younger, to the Adaye Ombo house. These were the 2 most powerful and populous houses, and these houses represent the first working chieftaincy houses in Kalabari. During the reign of Da Amakro, it is alleged that Da Amakro was a dictatorial leader, a dictatorial ruler who does not approve of any dissent or disagreement. Anybody who opposes him will be punished severely. An elder, one of the oldest members of the Amakri household, Ekaki, who fought alongside with Amakri, very old and feeble, Da Amakro sent him to Arochukwu, to Stuku, to cleanse himself, to prove that he has not done anything that was forbidden in Calabar land, which include witchcraft and so on. So he handed him over to the arrows to take him to Arochukwu, knowing that majority of the people who go to Arochukwu never return, who had gone on that journey never returned. As they were leading Da Ekaki away, the arrows, Da Ombo saw them, because his quarters is at the Turame, the old Turame quarters, leading to the waterfront, the Osera, where the Brinomoni reside. And when Da Ombo inquired, they told him Da Ombo paid for his release and took him back. In the evening, he went to Da Amakro Tiger, Amakri King, Amakri II, and asked why he will send Da Ekaki on such a perilous journey without consulting with other members of the Amakri household. Da Ombo was in fact the political and commercial leader of the Ombo house. Ida kan kutorebe litere mori dono kubome ya masaraga sona jibalo wiba ezebao adombo. It was the warboat of Da Ombo that traversed several seas and went and brought it up from Oyangala to Kalabari. Sona jibalo wiba ezebao adombo. So Da Ombo asked him, and Amakro became very angry and told him, "Who are you to question me? You think even I can't sell you or I can't send you away? Who do you think?" So both of them flare up. He went along with his officer's son, Da Caribou. And Da Caribou boboed him, touched him. Yeah, and what's so Da Ombo left with Da Caribou. Immediately he arrived at the Turame quarters. He summoned his people, Da Edia Valley, his younger brother Debo, and all the senior members of the Ombo group of houses, and the senior members of the Brinomoni house quarters, and told them, led by that area, Lai Benibo, and told them that whenever his eyes closed, they must make sure, if his eyes closed, when the tiger was still Amanyanabo, they should make Da Caribou Amanyanabo of Kalabari king. There's a problem. There's a snag there. Da Caribou was older, Da Ekine was older than Da Caribou. And how would this be possible? Da Ombo died. And when Da Amakro Tiger died, Naturally, the Awoba Boys House presented the Ikine for kingship. The combined force of Ombo Brinomoni presented the Caribou. And there was a fight, a raging war. Some people say it's for 3 days or more days. A raging war. They were fighting, shooting, killing. There was a civil war. Trade was stopped on the new Kalabari as others watched as the two groups fought themselves to stand still. The now Ombo Brinomoni group, who were at the waterfront Osra by the how the quarters were located. The bad boy group was at the Endeme quarters where the Makri house is till today. They were located, so they were close to the Makri house. They would have gone in to make sacrifice. But as the fight was going on, the combined force of Ombo Brinomoni gained the upper hand and moved from the Brinomoni and Ituame quarters to occupy the Damakri house. And when they occupied the Damakri house, they brought in Caribou to make the sacrifice. He did not hide to go and make sacrifice. Because from the Osra to Damakri house, at that time, it's not a small distance. It was a swampy town. If you want to know how Eden Kalabari was in those days, then visit Bile, visit Wani, visit Kola, you will know. Even in this modern time. We are talking of about 300 years ago. They gained the upper hand and they went and had that Caribou inside where the sacrifice was made. As the Akuma sounded and they were bringing him out, a volley of arrows were shot at them, and one of them blinded the right eye of that area. Gooded, Blaibenibo. That was how that Caribou became Amanyanabo of Kalabari. He did not steal in the middle of the night and go into the house and ask the custodians of the people who have the key to open the house for him to enter. Now they are lying that they did not do so. They did so. Chiefs, Charlotte, Dolphin, and Makri should explain to the Kalabari people how his brother from the Ekenta subsection of the Ela Beni house got into the Damakri sanctuary to make the sacrifice. We'll come to that later. So that was it. That was how the Ombo house today, any Amanyanabo that will be coronated will be taken to the Ombo house. And the Akanko drum that Ombo brought from inside of the Akuma, the Akanko drum that Ombo brought from Opudo and Doni will be used in escorting him to the Damakri, to the Akaso house, to Damakri house, for him to carry out the sacrifice for installation as the Amanyanabo of Kalabari after the Namabele. After that, when the Caribou died, the Amakri house, the Ombo Brinomoni and the generality of the Amakri house presented Dabi as the first son. The Awo Baboy's house, claiming that they were king under the Endeme, presented Odumialambo. And another fight, Caribou ruled for a very long time, over 60 years. And another fight was raging. They said Akaso intervened and said at that time, one of the Kalabari exclusive trading area has been barricaded by the Nembe people. That anybody who breaks the Nembe barricade at Okaki will become king. Now Odubialambo immediately proceeded. He was defeated and he returned home. Da Abi and his group went later and broke the barricade and entered Okaki, made all the sacrifices, and Da Abi came back, following the procedure to the Ombo house, bringing the Akampo, and he was made king. He was the first king that was installed in that way. After him, Da Shali Kenny Amakri was installed in that way. After him, Da Willie Amakri was the whole Abbey house went to Obonoma. To bring him, he was installed from Abbey house to Caribou house, the head of Caribou Memorial Hall in the George's compound. George Idilolomare, Prince George Amakri, is the head of the Caribou house. He sits on Caribou stool. If the Amanyanabo is not around, it is not Charlie Dolphin Amakri that ought to sit there. It is the head of George's group of houses that ought to sit there. If there is nobody on that stool, then any member of the Caribou house can sit. These are the lies, misrepresentation, the falsehood, the distortion that has continued in Kalabari land. Now that we must correct. Now, when Da Willie died, Da Willie was not a chief when he was made king. When Da Willie died, there was thought among the people that somebody who has Western education, because the Kalabari people were educated in Kalabari way, they were wise, stronger than this. In their time, Kalabari was not like this. But we'll come to that later. They said J.T. Princewill, who was a grandson, should become king. A direct son of Da Abi, Suku presented himself. J.T. Princewill was installed king. After some time, the Broto house continued to fight. Da Reverend Cotton Charles Amakri went and joined with other people, and he was made the endem Amanyanabo, going back to the endem and replacing the Amakri house. J.T. Princewill and the Amakri chiefs fought against it, and the Eastern Regional Government set up the Wisha Commission, which clearly established that J.T. Princewill was the rightful king, and he became king. After J.T. Princewill died, King Frederick Tom Princewill became king. King Frederick Tom Princewill was still alive. He supported Biafra. It was not a crime. It was the right decision he took for the good of Kalabari. He went into exile. He was still alive. When the same Cotton who said Amakri Ngada, make it and them in Ngada Sakite, they broke the leg of Amakri's stool and threw it into the river, was brought. They contested with Nathaniel Princewill at the Abbey house. Nathaniel Princewill defeated him. They went to the Caribou house where they said there was an impasse. And she told Abeso, I was alive as a young man, brought mobile police and other things, and they went to perform the rites from Caribou in George's compound. They led him to Ombo house, they went to their Kasoal, they with their Campo, and they came to the Amakri house, and he became king. Nobody stole into the house in the night to do that. This scene occurred during the time of Daobai. Daobai contested with Nathaniel Princewill. He defeated him in the Abbey house. When they went, Chief A.A. Amakri, the secretary of Kalabari Council of Chiefs, when the head of the Caribou house asked him, Prince George Amakri asked him, In Dobobra, he said that we didn't conclude. So this talk about Abi House being the exclusive royal house is a lie, a distortion, and a misrepresentation. I was alive, I was there. There, Chief Ekine Benbo, a magistrate, and head of the Ekine House, presented himself and contested with Chief Nathaniel, Chief Obaye, and himself. They voted. They had a tie. Ekine Benbo had one vote to establish that all descendants of Amakri have the right, if they are able, to contest. Ekine Benbo had one vote. Obaye and Nat had tie. And at the end of the day, the head of the Caribou House, the chairman, George Amakri, casted the casting vote. And he voted for Daobaye. Daobaye became king. After Daobaye became king, he stayed and he died. Following the due process, even though he was coronated on a Sunday, following the due process, T.J.T. Princewill, Professor T.J.T. Princewill, is dead. They should stop lying to us. Why do we believe in lying? If Amanyanabo dies, they should eliminate him. They have not done that. They are doing mango, all the nonsense. Now, in his installation, it was announced over the radio by Chief Monima Jaksuku Amakri. He announced. They were all there. They brought touts. They brought talks. They brought qualities. Soboma George was brought and put at an hotel. I am a member of the Dahabi House. Dahabi, Tongo baby kiyim. Tongo baby kiyim. Iyeri, Justice Smith for good at all. Iyeri inokubato, yero goto, yeda bito, yeda kariboto, yeda makibos, Tongo baby kiyim. Anago kaye, anago ye brake ye. Now, when they saw that we had overwhelming force, they ran away. We voted. Out of 30-something chiefs of the Abbey House to present one candidate as they normally do from the Abbey House. That Professor T.J.T. Princewill had 21 votes. I was not there. They took him to Caribou House. There was no other contestant. To Wabigi Boy Nasaba, they asked 3 times. There was nobody. Then we took him to the Ombo House. He was crammed by Chief Dr. Sagba Ikriko. Put the cram on his head. And the Akampo was brought down. They went to Akaso's house. From Akaso's house, they went to Amakri House. They cut the carried out the various rights, did the Namapele right, and T.J.T. Princewill became Amanyanabo of Kalabari formally. They've been going to court. That's what they do. Anytime Labene wins, the brother people will not agree. J.T. Princewill, they went to court. Every time they go to court. Fred, every time. They don't wish Kalabari well. That is the truth. We must say it. We had never taken them to court. The Ella Bene House, even with all the provocation, we had never taken anybody to court. That was how that J.T. Princewill became king of Kalabari. And now, God has called him to join with our forebears. Instead of announcing it, Some people in the Ogo house started doing mango. Papa A and his brothers and some other chiefs, they met together. You have not announced, which was wrong. Amanyanabo was supposed to be done criminally, was supposed to be buried 3 days after he has died. They didn't do all that. They kept Amanyanabo corpse in the mortuary, it's in the mortuary, and if the Amanyanabo is not dead, we have the right as Kalabari people. I am a member of the Amanyanabo is dead. Let us go to the hospital where Amanyanabo is. Whether it's in coma, it's anywhere, it's in London, people will go and see him. They cannot hide Amanyanabo, and Chief Charlie will be opening door for people to go and make sacrifice. To go and do all manner of things. Ordinarily, I would not have spoken. People have inundated me with several these things, and I had to speak out. Alhaji Mujahid, I have to speak out. So that was it. They went and selected against all odds who myself and Chief Moneyman were opposed to them in making that choice. We opposed to them. That let them wait, they refused. If Amanyanabo has not died, how would they meet together and say the people Ogo is primary house has elected a new leader as Amanyanabo to become Amanyanabo? They did that. Now, they were the people who laid the foundation for Caribou to have done what he has done. Because he too was afraid. He has every right to become Amanyanabo, but the way and manner he went were not the right way. He did not do anything. Going to Namapele does not make you Amanyanabo. It is very ironic. Why are people doing all this in cutting channel money? For a long time, people have been eating cutting channel money. Kalabari, Commonwealth. A few people are eating. Nobody is talking. Why? There are so many places. I have so many places. Mega taking to go and get money. Why would I come and take community money? I've never done. Nobody can accuse me. So that is what they are fighting for. Amanyanabo. In that one, I try in game, I try. The way to install a Kalabari Amanyanabo is very clear and straightforward. You are selected at that Caribou house. The Abi house can meet and select one candidate, go to Caribou house. If there are other contestants from the Amakri group of houses, they come out to contest. If there are none, they proceed to that Ombo house, take their Kampo, go to Akaso house, from Akaso house to Amakri house, do the Nampele ceremony, and you become Amanyanabo of Kalabari. Not to hide in the night. Open door by Chief Charlie Dolphin Amakri, who is also a member of the Kenta sub-house of the Elabene group in the Dahabi house to become king. There is no such way of making king.